Welcome to Boot2boom Now, the #1 live streaming show, the #1 live streaming entrepreneur show, taking you from bootstrap to booming. We are here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we are here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We are here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern to get your PayPal popping, your business booming, and your life and your relationships to explode.
Boom!
Welcome to Boot2boom Now, the #1 live streaming show, the #1 live streaming entrepreneur show. We are live. We are the #1 live streaming show taking entrepreneurs from bootstrap to booming. And we are here every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're here to get your PayPal popping, your business booming, and your life and your relationships to explode. This March is always very special because it is International Women's History Month. So this March, we will be featuring successful women entrepreneurs, and we have an amazing woman that we're featuring tonight. So definitely stay tuned. We'll be talking about her in a moment. Go ahead and if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want you plugged into Boot2boom. We want you to check out our motivational booms when they pop up periodically through the week. We have our after booms. We also have our Facebook group going on as well. So plug into the Facebook group and make sure you share this out. Let everybody know that we're live. You definitely want to share this out with your friends, with your business peeps, with everybody who, needs to know about how to run a successful business, in particular women, in particular Black women tonight. So go ahead and share this out and plug into our Facebook group and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's phenomenal show. So if you haven't heard already, just a couple of announcements. One, make sure you get our resource list. That link is in the chat. You can pick that up. We have taken hours to compile this list for you. Over $10,000 worth of resources for your business in every aspect of your business, from online courses to marketing materials to live workshops, conferences, you name it. Everything that you need to run a successful business is on this resource list. So go ahead and check that out, download that. If you haven't looked at it in a while, go ahead and look at it because we update it each and every week. So we want you to definitely plug into the special offers we have there, including the PNC, or the Power Networking Conference that Boot2boom will be live at in January. I will be presenting. I'll be doing the morning meditation again. And, it's just going to be a lot of phenomenal things going on at this conference. We were there last year. We're there again this year. So we're there from July 6th to July 8th. And it is a power week. I mean, we go from Wednesday to Saturday, sun up to sun down. It is an amazing conference. If you are a Black entrepreneur, you absolutely want to be there. It is not to be missed. It is prime networking. Everybody is there. Everybody just walking around, just very approachable, very grounded. And so we'll be having a lot of the speakers from PNC. They will actually be on Boot2Boom, so you'll be finding out more about that. But right now, we're offering you the opportunity to attend at a very, very, very deep discounted price. If you go to the website, powerednetworkingconference.com, you will see that tickets are $8.99. Because Boot2Boom will actually be there, we have tickets for you for $399. So you're saving $500 to attend this conference. So we definitely want you there with us. We'll be doing something special for our Boot2Boomers there. So make sure you get your discounted ticket. I can't even remember how many we have left. We only have 5. So go ahead. You can email us at boot2boom@gmail.com. Get your discounted ticket for only $399 while they last, because they're not going to last forever. And if you have any questions for us, again, just email us. But we definitely want you there with us. It's going to be here in the Maryland, D.C. area at the National Harbor. Really beautiful Gaylord Hotel. So definitely check that out. So we want you there. And let me introduce, boot2boom@gmail.com. And if you don't already know me, of course you do. But if you don't already know me, I'm Avalaura. And this is my amazing co-host, Ms. Jessica. Hey, Jessica.
Hey, how you doing, Avalaura?
I am awesome. So I'm really excited about this show as we kick off March with International Women's History Month. And there's a lot going on. So we're going to do something a little bit special with the Poppin' Topic today. If you watch this, you know we introduced the Poppin' Topic, and then we have our guest come on. But our guest is so phenomenal. You know, we just going to change things around a little bit for her. She's so phenomenal. She just has some wonderful information that we want her to come on and be a part of the Poppin' Topic. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Jessica, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you don't already know my phenomenal co-host, Ms. Jessica, she is an experienced online business consultant that has over a decade in assisting SME business owners within the digital media sector. Throughout her 25 years of practice, she has worked with well-known Wall Street and Fortune 500 companies, television celebrities, healthcare providers, leading public figures, and community leaders. Jessica really believes that everyone has a purpose and that God put her here to help you, and that you are here to help someone too. And she is all about helping you to show up and show out in your life and in your business by creating your own digital media show. So just like Boot2Boom or having your own podcast. So that is what her area of expertise is. That's what she shows you how to do. And if you want to learn more, you can go ahead and contact her. Go to bit.ly/talk2jaw, JAW, bit.ly/talk2jaw.
Yes, thank you so much, Avalaura. And I have the pleasure of introducing my co-host and the founder of Boot2Boom, Avalaura. So Avalaura is an internationally celebrated intuitive consultant and life coach who takes her clients from whole to wholeness in their lives, relationships, and businesses. She guides you through a powerful healing process that helps them discover who they are, who they wish to be, and how to get there. If now's the time for you to live a freedom-focused life, detox yourself of limiting beliefs that no longer serve you, and create an unrecognizable reality, then Avalaura is the guide you've been waiting for. Get your consultation today. Email avalaura@avalaura.com. All right, and today we also have our wonderful sponsor, which we can go ahead and segue right into, which is Avalaura. As you guys all know, Avalaura wears crowns, and Avalaura actually sells a lot of her crowns as well. She is a walking and talking billboard for her own company.
Listen, if I don't rock it, nobody else will, right?
So she gives the example of what we all should do if you have a product-based business. So queens wear crowns. Get your regal, sophisticated, luxurious head wrap at crownbyavalaura.com. DMV and women in the surrounding areas attend the Crown Tea, where you learn all about the healing benefits of tea, how to wrap your hair, all while dining on premium tea and dessert bar. Register now. You can go to bit.ly/Crown Tea. So there you'll be able to not only drink tea, but also get a crown to go along with your teacup, I guess, right? Because you probably have something that matches, I'm sure. Because she always has the lipstick and matches. I'm sure you can just follow that line right along, and she has the cup, the plate, everything. So she's just going to hook you up. All right. So now let's go ahead and let's bounce into, you guys know I like playing around with Avalaura. Let's go ahead and get into our guests. So Avalaura, go ahead and introduce our guest that dropped an infinity bomb on us. Go ahead and introduce her.
She sure did. Boy, we just switched up our whole format and say, oh, no, we got to change this. So that's how bad this woman is, okay? Our guest tonight is Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeever, and she is a diversity, equity, and inclusion solutionist, career renovation strategist, and women's empowerment expert. And she's the author of the award-winning book, How Exceptional Black Women Lead, and the founder of Exceptional Leadership Institute for Women. Dr. Avis has served as a speaker and a trainer on entrepreneurship and career success on behalf of the U.S. embassies across the globe. She has also served as a regular guest host and contributor to TV One's News One Now, PBS To the Contrary, Sirius XM, The Agenda, The Huffington Post, Black Enterprise, NBC Black, and I'm sure the list goes on and on and on and on. And now Boot2boom. Yeah. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeever.
Hey. Glad to be here. What a great intro.
We are so glad to have you. Thanks so much for spending this time with us, particularly during International Women's History Month.
Absolutely. Yes. Girls in the house.
Yes. Right? Definitely. Definitely. So when you first came on, before we got started with the show, you dropped a bit of a bomb on us. So our popping topic is going to be all around exceptional women and how we lead, and then how we need to continue to lead with this new, what are we calling this? Is it a campaign, or is
Women's
it
Day, which is tomorrow?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Day Without a Woman.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? Yes. So let's talk a bit about some exceptional women that Avalaura and I really, truthfully, who we look up to and we admire. And then we'll ask you, Avis, who you would recommend or who you admire as well. And then we'll move right into our topic here. So Avalaura, who do you admire, and who's an exceptional woman, a Black woman for you?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't have to tell you, but just in case you've been under a rock, y'all know I love me some Oprah. Like, y'all know I'm about to be Oprah's left-hand woman. So I absolutely admire, adore Oprah. I'm just waiting for her to call me and say, Avalaura, I've been looking for you all my life. Where have you been? So we're just waiting for this phone call. But, you know, I really admire her for so many reasons. I mean, she's not just an exceptional Black woman, but an exceptional woman, an exceptional human being. But, you know, one of the things I was thinking about it that I absolutely love about Oprah is her consistency. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes in leadership, that's something that we don't always see, is somebody that's consistently, you know, really moving the agenda forward, really practicing what they preach, you know, not getting tired and say, okay, I've done enough, let me stop. But really like, okay, what can I do now? I mean, if you think about it, like this woman, she had an amazing talk show. She could have kept doing the Oprah Winfrey show. We would have been fine with that, right? I mean, we would have been good. But she said, no, that's not enough. I need my own network. You know, like how boss is that? That you're always thinking, how can I level up? How can I do more? You know, what is left for me to do? What is there that still needs to be done that people are not doing? And so that's one of the things that I really love about Oprah, is that she doesn't stop. She consistently is moving forward and really putting her money in the things that she's passionate about. So not just talking about it, but really putting her money where her mouth is.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So Avis, go ahead and tell us who you look up to as an exceptional Black woman.
Sure. Well, you know, I'm a bit of a history nerd. So I have to say that my ultimate exceptional Black woman is Harriette Tubman. And what I love about Harriet Tubman, and I think she is an extraordinary leader obviously in her own right. And the fact that this is a woman who, quite frankly, she freed her first enslaved person when she was a child. Actually, most people don't realize that. When she was a child, she witnessed someone trying to escape, and she noticed that someone was trying to stop that person. So she literally put her body between the person who was running away and the person who was throwing an object at the person who was attempting to run to freedom. In the process, she got hit in the head, had a very serious injury. As a result of that, for the rest of her life, she suffered from narcolepsy, which means that she could just sleep at any moment in time. So even with that sort of disability, she was able to do what she did, not only gain freedom for herself, but come back into danger again and again and again and free others, and do so in such a boss way. I mean, we've all probably seen these images of Harriet with a shotgun in one hand, and just, because she was known to say, if you're coming with me, there's no turning back, because you are not going to compromise the rest of the group because you all of a sudden got cold feet. If you can't come with us, I will shoot you dead right here before I put the rest of us in jeopardy. It doesn't get much more boss than that, right? She was the only woman in American history to lead a regiment in battle. A lot of people don't know that not only was she a spy for the North during the Civil War, she literally led a regiment in battle that actually ended up helping that regiment take an armory down and get more arms to fight the Southern troops. So she was boss in so many ways, I kind of lose count. That is my ultimate exceptional Black woman.
Wow, that is awesome, man. Yeah, I definitely didn't know some of that. So you're just gonna do this the whole show, I'm sure.
Now look, that's why she's here. She is serving her purpose.
Help it.
You're just gonna keep just putting us up on game the whole show. Cool. Glad we booked you. So my exceptional Black woman is Cathy Hughes. I like Cathy Hughes because she's all about media, and I am all about digital media, not traditional so much to speak. But I'm all about people creating a way that they can get out of their current situation or see something that they may not have been able to see before. So, that's why. And she was the first Black woman to publicly trade a company as well. So for me, that's just major. That's huge, major. So that's very, very boss to me. And then I've listened to a lot of her stories, and the way that she actually helped mothers really just struck a chord with me. The fact that she employed mothers as well as uplifted mothers in the community, and she really gave back to her community and had her community invest in her company as well. So I was just like, go girl. That's my inspirational woman that leads. And it's funny because she's one of those women that I don't want to say she doesn't get praise. She does. She definitely, I think, and especially now, she definitely is. But it's like she's kind of been there, but not wanting to always kind of be in the spotlight or go, oh, look at me, look what I did, type of a thing.
Yeah.
She's just more or less just been in the background, like, hey, I'm doing it, and as long as it's getting done, I don't need to, have my face all in the, cameras and all that other good stuff. And, even just looking at her follower count and stuff, it's so funny because we put so much of a thing on how many people are following us and how many people are liking our posts and so on and so forth. And she has a very modest amount of people following her. However, the work that she has done, it can't be matched. It can't be matched. So it really just goes to show you that, you can get all the likes and follows you want, have it, as many people as all these social media platforms, all that good stuff for you to show people kind of what you're doing. But really what speaks volumes, what speaks to others is that the work that you're doing. It's the way that you're doing it. So that's mine. Now, Avis, tell us a bit about what we are supposed to be doing tomorrow that we had no idea we were doing.
Yes, what is this International Women's Day Without Women?
Yeah. Well, see, it's to tell you the truth, it's two separate things that happen to now be happening at the same time this year. International Women's Day happens every year, right?
Yes.
But what's happening different this year is this Day Without Woman event. And the Day Without a Woman is something that has sort of spun out of the march, the Women's March that happened after this particular psychopath in chief was elected.
Oh my goodness, I think I'm gonna have to use that. That's the new POTUS. Psychopath.
I can't call him the other one. I have to always think of something else to call him. I just can't bring myself. So anyway, after he was elected, we know that we had the big Women's March. And so, a lot of people were saying, well, what's next? And so This was the idea to have this event on International Women's Day, and it would be a day without women. And the idea is that women would refrain from going to work if they could, like stay home from work. And what they mean by that is just women don't work, not only in terms of paid work, but also unpaid work. So all of that free labor that women provide to our families every day, take tomorrow off, okay? And if you, another sort of suggestion is for people to wear red to show solidarity, to show that you are, conforming to this idea of a day without women. And if people are already also being asked to refrain from shopping, but if you are going to shop or if you need to buy something, people are being asked to only patronize either women-owned or people of color-owned stores. So those are the sort of the big takeaways in terms of
tomorrow.
The day without. That's right.
Avalaura.com.
Tomorrow will be a great day to buy one of your crowns. Exactly. Absolutely.
Definitely. So that's awesome. That's amazing. And I'm kind of now, I'm like, wow, how come I didn't know this? At the same time, I'm going, okay, so tomorrow I get to relax, but really I don't. I have like a full roster. So I'm like, okay, red I'll be wearing.
Here's my conundrum. I work for myself, so I guess I'm not going to take a day off because I'm not hurting anybody but myself if I take the day off.
Exactly, right? There we go.
Exactly it. I'm like, what do you do when you work for yourself?
For yourself.
I mean, I got work to do.
Yeah.
Well, you're supporting a woman-owned business when you're working for yourself.
Okay.
You are absolutely right.
Boom, boom. Definitely.
So problem solved. All right. Exactly. So if you're a women-owned business, you're good. Now everybody else.
Yes.
That's right.
Everybody else, you need to, I need to figure it out. I want to follow that idea a tad bit further, and then I'll allow Avalaura to get to her first interview question here. But I saw a social media post where a woman was marching in the Women's March, and the post actually said that the poster that she was holding actually said, remember that white women voted for Trump. So
yes. I actually know her. I know the person who signed that was.
So I just have to make sure that we put that out there, that's really important to think about.
It is 53% up.
I'm just saying. So we're talking to a diversity and inclusion specialist here. So I'm sure she's going to give some tidbits on how to navigate this whole thing when you're on the, I don't want to say the outside, but you're kind of on that fence of, okay, they're fighting for all of these different things for women. And it's like, yeah. But then it's like, okay, but what about what Black people go through every day, not just the woman,
Well, so, you raise a really good point there in a couple of different ways. First of all, it is absolutely true that the majority of white women did vote for Donald Trump, in spite of the fact that he was well known in terms of all of his misogynistic actions and words, right?
Oh, and Avis, he's in one of my psychology books. He's
really?
Actually, his photo is in one of my psychology books that says next to his photo that he wants to amass a large amount of power or wealth. I will send you that page, but I took a picture of it because I was like, are you kidding me? Now he's our president.
I'm not surprised. Did they have him connected with the word narcissist?
Yeah,
yes.
I would think it would be narcissism.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, he's like textbook.
He's textbook.
Yeah.
He's a textbook. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to me, what happened in that election is, quite frankly, white women, they privileged their whiteness over their womanhood in that election. That's what happened. They understood that they have an investment in white male supremacy, and they chose to vote for that over gender solidarity. And so I understand the motivation behind that sign. I get it. I understand the frustration. I also understand that if, some of your viewers are still in a workplace, and if you're still in the workplace, the reality is that a lot of the companies that I work with have seen a significant tensing of the corporate culture following this election. We've seen it all over, not just in terms of in the workplace. We know that there was a huge spike, and I'm sure it probably still is, in hate crimes following this election. We know that there's a huge spike in children of color being bullied in school following this election. And what I'm saying is that those sorts of negative, that negative energy has filtered down into the workplace. Even if your workplace is made up of people who, overtly tend to be very neutral at minimum, if not friendly, this sort of cloud in many instances have settled over the workplace where, quite frankly, people of color feel betrayed. People of color begin to question relationships with people that they may have had for years, and they thought that perhaps that person was someone that they could trust, was someone of high moral character, and they have difficulty understanding how someone can justify supporting someone who has, from day one, from the first day that he stepped on the political scene, appealed to racism, appealed to xenophobia, appealed to Islamophobia, appealed to misogyny. And every other sort of bad indicator of human behavior one can imagine. It's hard to reconcile the fact that someone could find one little sliver of something, or at least that's their excuse, that they voted for him for one little sliver of something, and they really didn't take that other stuff seriously. And now all of that stuff that they're saying they never took seriously, we're living through. We're seeing families being ripped apart. We're seeing people being murdered in bars or wherever because some idiot assumes that they're Iraqi, as if that would be okay to murder someone for being Iraqi, for example. So we're seeing the fallout of his hate every single day. And so it has led, I believe, to increased tensions in the workplace, where people are now trying to figure out, how do I work side by side with someone who has shown such utter disregard for me, for my safety, for my children, for my family? And how do we get past that to work constructively together as a team? And so that's the challenge that I'm seeing, either spoken or unspoken. That's a real sort of energy that we're seeing in workplaces across the country right now.
I'm glad that you said that, because I think that you were able to put into words a lot of what people are feeling and may not have been able to express. Mm-hmm. And because, we definitely see that there's all of that going on right now. It really is like the melting pot of emotions and, and things happening right now. And people are just getting very overwhelmed and anxious and depressed. And there's a lot of sort of hopelessness and powerlessness happening. And so I love that you were able to speak to that so that people can understand that, this is real. And even though we didn't necessarily know what was going on for tomorrow for International Women's Day, but understanding that, there are ways that we can try to counteract this, that there is power, there is hope. And, just do your part, whatever that little bit might be. You can just do your part.
Absolutely. And, we were speaking a little bit before we went live. I think it's very real to acknowledge that some people may not be in a space where they can take a day off. We know that women of color, for example, are especially likely to be in jobs that have very little, if any, flexibility. And so what the organizers are encouraging, understanding that that's the case, we definitely wouldn't want anyone to put their livelihood in jeopardy for, a one-day event. What they're asking people to do, instead of potentially risking their employment, to at least try to don red, to at least wear red, to show some sign of solidarity. And as mentioned before, refrain from spending money anywhere except to buy those beautiful crowns that you have on today.
Absolutely. And you know, and the beauty of that, you know, I feel like what's awesome about this is that we have three, you know, powerful women here that we all have carved out and done the work to be able to control our own schedules. So that if we wanted to, we could take off tomorrow. We can't because we're running our own businesses, but we have that flexibility. And so, you know, I definitely want to ask you about that. Why did you decide, or, you know, decide, why did you decide to become an entrepreneur, and what was that process like for you?
Oh, golly, I love talking about this, because I think this is, to me, it's been such an amazing experience. I'm at a point in my life where I could never imagine working for anybody else ever again. It's just an amazing sort of life shift and mindset shift. When you are able to do what you love, create the income that you need to support the lifestyle that you want, and have the freedom to be able to live the life that you want on your own terms. It's just, to me, it's just a priceless existence. I was first inspired to be an entrepreneur probably because my dad was an entrepreneur. So I'm the second generation. My dad has had, you know, a quite amazing story. He was a child of sharecroppers. So he was a sharecropper as a child. We like to think of that as something that happened a million years ago. And though I'm kind of old, I'm not that old. Okay. So it didn't happen a million years ago. But he was a sharecropper as a child. And unfortunately, his father passed away suddenly when my dad was just 14. And so at the age of 14, being the oldest son of 8 children, it then became his responsibility to be the breadwinner in his household. And he made the decision right then and there, to be perfectly frank, that he never again wanted to work for a white man. And so he decided to start down the road of entrepreneurship. He had a couple of different businesses, but by the time I came along, he had established a very successful lumber company. And through it, he was able to employ all of his brothers, as well as over a dozen other people from the community. I think at its height, it had about 25 employees. And every week when he wrote a check to all of his employees, he also wrote a check to his mother and took care of her for the rest of her life. Wow. And so he did all of that with a 3rd grade education. Wow. And in the midst of Jim Crow, right? And so when I think about what my father experienced and what he was able to accomplish with the challenges that he had before him at the time in this country that we had such repression, overt repression against African Americans. For him to do that is something that I always admired about him. And though I didn't have because his business was successful, he was able to offer me the luxury to be able to go to school and not have to be burdened down by student loans, right? And be able to really focus on my schoolwork and not have to worry about that side of the coin, like unfortunately a lot of people do. And so that allowed me to be able to focus. I was able to do well in school. I was able to get scholarships and do really well all the way up through graduate school, and never have to have a student loan to pay for any of that. Through his business success. So I always admired all of that. And I went the traditional way. You know, when you get all that education, you kind of feel like you kind of got to go the traditional way. And I did that for many years until I ultimately ran into what I would describe very frankly as a very toxic work environment. And it really came to a point where I felt like my professional ethics were being would have had to bend if I were to stay in that situation. And I didn't want to do something that would put a stain on my ethics for the rest of my career. And so at that point, I knew I had to leave. And this, unfortunately, was happening around the time that we were having that big, almost depression. So it wasn't a whole lot of jobs going around at that moment. So luckily, what I had done while I was working was I had already started doing some other sort of work on the side. And I at least had enough work on the side where I could maintain my sort of minimal living expenses. And I made the decision, hey, I'll take the summer off. I'll keep doing that. And I will look for another job opportunity. And I was looking, I couldn't really find anything that I really, really was that interested in, to be perfectly honest. And then one day it just really hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, if you spent as much time and effort in your business as you're spending looking for another job, imagine what your business could do. And when that hit me, when I had that epiphany, it was like focused. I focused on my business and I grew it, and I was able to sort of accelerate it to six-figure success in its first year. But it was because I stopped trying to sort of do it on the side. I really said, I had this situation where I couldn't fail. I was divorced. I had 2 sons that I was, the primary caretaker of. I had one of which was about to go to college soon and now is in college. And so, I had the expenses that we all have as we're adults. So if I was going to do it, I had to do it. And when I sort of developed that epiphany that I'm going to do it and I know I can't fail, it gives you this idea, this what I call this burn the ships mentality. Back in the day when someone would invade space in terms of war, if the captain of that ship was really he was like a Harriette Tubman like in spirit, he would basically, as his warriors got off the ship, he would say, let's burn the ship. The only way that you're going back home is if you win this battle, because we're not retreating, right? When you have that I'm not giving up mindset, you're going to figure out how to make it work. And that's ultimately what I did. And I'm so glad that I made that decision to not sort of slink back into anything just to make the bills. But instead, I decided to have that burn the ship mentality and put that focus on building my business. And it's been an adventure and just a wonderful learning and growing experience, in addition to all the benefits that you get in terms of just being an entrepreneur, as we spoke about before.
Awesome.
I love that.
I know.
Go hard to go home.
Right? I'm getting all kinds of shirts.
There's no other way.
So I'm going to get a burn the ship shirt, and that's going to be in the color red. And
and they're going to be made by a woman-owned business.
There you go.
Exactly.
Exactly right.
All kinds of inspiration. I heard that. Okay, with Harriette Tubman on it. Okay, straight
That's
up, and then say
Harriette Tubman on the back.
right. Like,
absolutely.
Woo, that might be a good product there, right? Yeah. Look, maybe you shouldn't have said that out loud.
Look, I always come up with ideas while we on the show. Any of y'all make it, I want some. Y'all better send me some. Make me an affiliate deal or something. All right. All right, but that was wonderful. So tell me a bit. Let's talk about a little bit about the business side of it, because we have entrepreneurs that are listening, or entrepreneurial people that are listening. Tell us about the steps that you took to take your business to six figures. You said, first of all, it was your mindset, but then what were the actual in the doing type steps that you took as well?
Absolutely. So my business actually has evolved over the years. Initially, I was strictly a consulting firm. So it was like a B2B relationship. And to me, this is the biggest tip that I can give people who are entrepreneurs or who are thinking about making that foray into it, particularly if you're interested in the consulting realm, is you need to basically monetize your network. Figure out who you know that has decision-making power over budgets and who know and respect your work, and decide what it is that you're going to do, and sit down and talk with them and figure out where their needs are, and pitch how you can help them achieve their needs. And that's really how I got my first clients. My first clients weren't random people or anyone that I happened to cold call. My first clients were people who knew me and respected my work and believed that what I provided was valuable and was worthy of compensation. So that was the lowest hanging fruit. And then from there, you just sort of build out in terms of networking, in terms of asking people for referrals, in terms of doing other sort of prospecting to figure out who in your area is a potential client, and meeting with them and finding out what their needs are and figuring out where your needs align. So that's really where I started with the consulting work. And then a year into the business, so that's really the initial sort of six-figure mark I got through that. But a year into the process, I really enjoyed entrepreneurship so much. I was just kind of like on this high, like, I'm actually doing this. It's actually working. I actually don't need a job. I can make my own money. That, I loved it so much that I decided I wanted to help other people gain fulfillment in their careers in the same way that I had gained it in mine. And so that's when I started to do some career/entrepreneurship coaching specifically geared towards Black women. So I work with Black women. I call myself a career reinvention strategist in that I help women, what I like to say, master the art of the career shift. So I help them either shift their careers up into high gear so that they can move up the career ladder and ascend to executive leadership positions, because I've had that experience when in my traditional career. I help them also shift over into brand new careers, because I also know that as we experience life, we grow into new passions, we have new experiences, we have new interests, and sometimes that means that we need to shift careers. And I help people make that shift in a very safe and secure way and powerful way. And then I help people with what I call the ultimate shift, and that's moving from employee to successful entrepreneur. So I help people in those three ways. And so to this day, I kind of work on both sides of that coin. I do the B2B work. Most of my B2B work now concentrates in the diversity, equity, inclusion space. But I also do the B2C work, which is everything from the executive coaching to the career shifting work and to the employee to entrepreneur realm. So that's it in the sort of 360-degree perspective.
Wow, I love it. Yeah, we talk about it all the time, the importance of relationships, and that your network equals your net worth.
Absolutely.
And so you are a prime example of that, of how important your relationships are in networking, and not just networking and meeting people, but really cultivating those relationships.
Yes. See, that's really where your network pays off. If you're not cultivating the relationship, you just have maybe a collection of business cards, or you have a database, but they have no investment in you. They have no really relationship with you. And the thing is, people think that it takes a lot of time, and it is a little bit of investment in time, but it so pays off. Because just think about it. Most of us, if we want to make a significant investment, we rarely do it with a person or a brand that we have no experience with, that we don't know, that we haven't had any interaction with. I patronize people that I like personally. I mean, that's just human nature. And so to expect strangers to all of a sudden want to hand over their card to you, particularly in sort of in the realm that I work in, and when I in terms of the consulting practice, even in terms of the coaching work, people need to have a relationship and get to know you. And so it takes a little time, but let me tell you, it is well worth it. And you will be surprised about how fast you can grow your business if you really focus on cultivating those relationships, because people want to help people that they like, and they want to patronize people that they like. And then it doesn't feel like selling. It just feels like, and what it actually is helping people achieve their goals and being compensated for it.
Absolutely. And I have just found that people don't want to look hard for things either. When they need something, they want to say, oh, Avis does that. Oh, Jessica does that. They want you in arm's reach. And so they like, okay, let me get this and let me move on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
So we don't want to spend a lot of time looking for stuff. I mean, that's just how we are. It's just human nature. So you're absolutely right. But that only comes with, cultivating those relationships. I think about opportunities I got. It's because I was there. I was available. Avalaura, don't you do this? Yup, bam.
Yep.
That was it.
Absolutely. You got that right. I had and it doesn't take much to cultivate a lot of relationships. Let me tell you, sometimes you can just have one great phone call with somebody. I had for example, a call the other day with a prospect, right? A call with a prospect, and it was supposed to be just a little 15-minute call. I really just wanted to sort of have an initial conversation with her. I wasn't planning on pitching her on anything. It was just about building a relationship with her at this point, because it's kind of, you know, I'm sure you teach your folks about the whole no kissing on the first date thing in terms of the whole sales process, right? You know, you just want to ease your way in there a little bit, right? So it's just a very simple touch phone call. This is all this was supposed to be. But we hit it off so well. That 15-minute call turned into like a 45-minute call, which is now turning into a significant speaking engagement opportunity at a major corporation in like 2 months, which then could very well, and I plan to turn into a significant lengthier contract with that company, all based on a 15-minute phone. So this doesn't mean that you have to necessarily have a relationship with somebody that goes back years before you can turn that into cash. But it does mean that you need to approach them in a way that you're listening to them and that you're really wanting to help them. And that builds that relationship where that person can also see you in terms of your expertise, and they begin to trust you and they bring you in. And honestly, it's amazing. I guess I will say this one other thing. What made that happen, I think, is that I really spent a lot of time listening to what she wanted, and not just what she wanted in that role professionally that she could personally potentially hire me to help with, but also other parts of her life. Another part of her life that she was very much interested in was a nonprofit that she's deeply involved in. And so to follow up that conversation, I gave her information about how she could raise grants for that, how she could get money for that nonprofit, because that's an area that I used to work in for many years. And so I think helping her in that way, obviously not expecting, I can't give her a grant, but I gave her the information that she needs to really make that flourish. That had nothing to do with her job, her corporate job. But I think the reason why that probably made an impact on her, because she saw that I really cared about helping this thing that she cared about, which I thought was a worthy cause. And I think that was a part that helped us to bond even closer as well.
And you know, that I'm glad that you said that, because that really leads into my next question. You talk a lot about exceptional Black women and Black women in leadership. And so I know a big part of that really is listening and serving. But what would you say are, you know, really important qualities, you know, for Black women to embrace as leaders?
Good question. So I think the first and foremost is to have that leadership mindset. Is to know that you belong there and that you belong in leadership, and understanding that the situation that you find yourself in sometimes can be very detrimental to your confidence. It can be very detrimental to your feeling of belonging and your feeling of, you know, your capability to do what it is you have been tasked with doing. And I think it's important that we understand that we live within a society, quite frankly, that is extremely racist. Let's just be very honest about it. It's racist, it's sexist, there's so many things challenging about the society. And what you have to do is that you have to protect, you have to put on an armor every day and to protect your sense of self, to protect your confidence, to know you have the ability to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. And if there is something that you don't know, it is within your capabilities to learn. And so understand that you can grow into that role, that you don't necessarily today need to have, for example, everything on that list, on that prospect list that they are calling, that they are asking for, that you have the capabilities to grow into it. So first of all, having that leadership mindset, knowing that you can do it, having that confidence in you. And also I would say, as a leader, it's important to understand how to be able to communicate powerfully. And a challenge that we have as Black women in particular is that, once again, we live within the society that has very negative stereotypes around Black women and how we communicate, right? And we're often unfairly stereotyped as an angry Black woman, when actually what we're being is we're being passionate. We're caring about what we're talking about. We are being confident, and having those qualities contextualized as anger, I know is very frustrating. But it's really about understanding how to be very direct in your communication, how to control your facial expressions and your tone in your communication, and how to understand how to have those courageous conversations when they are needed, but in a way that's professional, in a way that is specific and targeted in a way that allows you to be heard and respected at the level that you should be respected. So I guess hopefully that's helpful. But those are some of the things.
No, that's great. I think that's great. And I think you hit on a couple of things. And actually, while you were talking, I wrote down being in your feelings and feeling a certain emotion. So what tips can you offer up to Black women in particular when we are, like you said, it's every day we experience racism, we experience sexism, we experience just the normal old being Black in America type of thing, where we have our children that are asking us for 50 million things. We have our husband over here asking us, can you do this? And then on top of that, you got to go to work, or you go out into, even if you don't work, even as an entrepreneur, I've had experiences in grocery stores and, at the gas station, so on and so forth. How to get to that place where you can take a deep breath and still hold on to, I call it the power. I tell a lot of my moms it's called, holding your power. But sometimes you just be ready to snap somebody. You're in that moment, you like, you went there. So how do we kind of navigate the B word, the N word, what's the other one they call us, angry and upset and all that good stuff, when we have a right to be, let's be honest. Absolutely. How do we combat that, or how do we find a way to kind of navigate that and still, like you said, find that power within us and that energy within us to say, I'm okay, I can do this, I can move forward? What are some tips you can offer up to some women out there who maybe feeling like, I'm just tired?
Yeah. Well, I want to start at a point that you made that I think is very important that people hear and underline and highlight and get. And that point is that you are a human being. And as a human being, you have a right to the full range of emotions. That means that one day you can be angry, or for a moment you can be angry about something, you can be happy about something, you can be sad about something, you can't be neutral about something. You are a human being and you have a right to that. And you shouldn't feel as if you have some extra pressure to try to suppress your anger when you're in a situation that under any circumstance, anger would be the appropriate response. Okay? So it's all right to be angry sometimes, all right? Just like anybody else can experience. That's, that's, you're a human being. You're allowed that. Yeah. Now, what I think, though, is critical for you to sort of push through all of the various demands on us, as you mentioned, all the various challenges that we face as Black women, which are particular to our experience in this community, in this nation, which I think are very different than even other women and other women of color. We have a very particular experience. I think one of the things that we need to allow ourselves is some space for ourselves, some self-care. Right before I had this call tonight, this show tonight, I had a call with one of my VIP clients, and she is a very high achieving executive in corporate America. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's also a filmmaker. That's her passion project that she's working on right now. So she's very, very high achieving, but she's stressed up to high hell, because she doesn't take any time for herself. Every minute, somebody's clinging on her. Somebody needs her. And even when she goes on, obviously, as we know, if you've been in this space, when you go on business trips, it ain't a vacation. It's still working.
Exactly. That's right.
So, so we deconstructed that tonight, and we were like, well, where are you on your calendar?
Yeah.
Nowhere. For months, she had been paying a membership to Massage Envy and hadn't been there once.
She's too busy. Too busy to get the massage that you're paying for already.
And it's not even just that she's too busy. Here's what we do as women, and I think particularly as Black women, we prioritize anything over us. It could be our family. It could be the church. It could be extended family. It could be whatever it is. And the thing is, when we get around to, we never make it back around to us.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so it's really about, I think, first and foremost, understanding that it is not selfish for you to carve out space in your life for you. In fact, beyond it not being selfish, I would argue that it is an absolute necessity. You cannot give from an empty well. One of the things my dad would always tell me, every conversation we had, the last thing he would say to me before we hung up the phone was, Avis, make sure you're taking care of you, because if you're not taking care of you, how are you going to take care of those boys? Every day, every time I spoke to him, he made it his business to remind me to take care of you, to remind me that it's okay for you to take that time to get that massage, for you to take that nap, for you to just do nothing, or do whatever it is that you want to do, and prioritize what you want to do. So one of the things that I always have my clients do is create a week, like what I call their ideal week. And in that ideal week, they are to demark time for themselves, personal and self-care time. Every day, a little bit, and then a more substantial amount on the weekends. That's a priority. You need to have self-care time on your calendar, just like you have meetings on your calendar. Just like you have soccer practice for your kids on your calendar. Just like you have, honey-do time, on your calendar. You need to make sure that you have you time on your calendar. I think that is one of the most important things that I really think that all Black women need to hear, because we spend so much time giving, but we fail to give to ourselves.
Yes, that is so true.
Huge advocate of self-care. And the thing is that we can never, ever, ever talk about it enough.
Right.
Like it never gets old, because there's always someone justifying a way why they can't take care of themselves. As we're talking about it right now, somebody is watching this and saying, oh, but I can't do that. I don't have time. Or, yeah, that sounds good, but how am I going to do that? And I always say, self-care is the best health care.
Absolutely.
People mad about Obamacare going, but how are self-care? Why are you worried about Obamacare when you can take care of yourself?
Girl,
that is your power to do what you need to do for yourself. And I put something up on social media this week, or no, it was last week, that the best gift that you can give to your loved ones is to take care of your own stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, going back to what we were talking about, the angry Black woman stereotype and, being angry and all these things, that happens because we're not taking care of ourselves. And so, even when you get in those positions where, like you said, you have that courageous conversation, it's very difficult to have a courageous conversation when you're on 10 because you didn't do anything to let go of all of that stuff. You physically can't do it because you're already on 10.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So your brain can't even conceptualize.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I say this in a nice way, in a professional way? Because you just had it up to here. Look, you on my last nerve. Last nerve.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. And I
think this is all stuff that we learned. We learned this through our grandparents, through our parents. It's something that we've seen in our society and in our families. So it's really foreign for us to see someone, even for me, I'm going to speak for myself here. Even when I saw like my aunties and they were like, oh yeah, we're going on a weekend. I'm like, who does that? Like, what? You're going out on a weekend? It's like, where are your kids going to stay? So you get to start to think about, what are they going to say about if I'm leaving my kids, or, so on and so forth. But it is something that we have to unlearn. And we have to bring back to the point that, hey, that may have happened to our grandmothers and they didn't have a choice back then. But now we have a choice.
Yeah.
So we need to use all our power to make that choice for ourselves. We don't have someone else telling us that you cannot rest, so it really does stem from a history of, there's a historical context there. So we need to be made aware of that, but we also need to be made aware of that now we are in a whole nother ball game and we have a lot of power over ourselves and we can do a lot more.
God, you said a mouthful there. That is so true. I actually talk about that a bit in my book. The reality is that, Black women have always worked, right? We didn't need a woman's movement to infuse us into the labor market, right? No, we didn't need that. We weren't around there with Rosie the Riveter and hanging out, right? We were always working. And in fact, what oftentimes we don't know about our history is that really it's literally Black women's labor that's responsible for the economic power of this country, because slavery in this country was passed down maternally. So it's not just our labor in terms of the work that we did. It was literally our labor in pushing out children that provided the means of production for this country to be able to thrive, okay? So because of our labor, as mothers and as workers, that is why we have a rich nation today. We've always had this working tradition. You're exactly right. And so we didn't grow up seeing that. We didn't, even when our work was raising other people's children, we worked. We always worked. And so it's very hard for us now to sort of get out of that reality of doing. And one of the things that I'm pushing and that I push in my book is that we have this history of doing, but we don't get credit for the work that we do. And unfortunately, we have a history of that. And that has become normalcy. And so what if now we get to a point mentally as women, as Black women specifically, where we're saying that's not enough just for us to do for other people to take credit for our labor and for our brilliance and for what we brought to the table. Why don't we get to a point where we make the collective decision that it should be as normal for us to lead as to be led? And when I say to lead, to really get the to get the proper position, right? To get the title and the checks that go with that, to go with the work that we do. And how can we push in a way so that we ultimately ascend to those levels where we've always performed, but we've never been recognized before? And so that's really what my book is about.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I love that. That's why I'm such a big advocate for digital media, because it's really truthfully, and it's so funny that you said that, because I've come in contact with a lot of corporate execs and women that are in high positions. And I mean, they are just doing the thing, right? They are making it happen. But they will not, for the life of it, they're like, yeah, I have a LinkedIn or I have a Twitter account, but I'm not posting on that. I was like, well, but you have all of these accomplishments. They're like, I'm not getting on there. And so I spoke to one of the women and she said, you have to think about the history behind that. You have to think about what's really keeping them from actually posting anything about themselves on social media. And I said, wow. Yeah, I never did think about that. I didn't take that into context. However, we have to step out from behind. Like we were talking about hidden figures on the last show, and we got to stop. We are no longer hidden figures. We have all of these resources that are here that we can post, we can share, we can show all of these women doing amazing things, and it's going to influence the next generation.
Absolutely.
We talked about, pushing out the labor that we had to go through. Well, if we're going to push them out, we also need to make sure that we're there, like you said, to lead them. And to show them, because they have this social media stuff right in their face all of the time. So we definitely need to have our images. I'm so tired of looking at the news feed and it's just like, white.
Bring on
the color over here.
I'm like, where is ain't it Black History Month? Oh, there's one post. Okay.
I mean, and that's and that is all about, exactly what we're talking about is really owning your power and creating what needs to be created. If it's not there, then creating it. And the thing is, like you said, we've always done it. Yeah. We just haven't done it for ourselves. And it's so interesting how it's very easy for us to do it for other people. But when it comes to doing it for ourselves, well, no, I can't do that. Well, I don't know enough. Or I don't have enough. Like, you got 18 degrees. What you mean you don't know enough? You more qualified than the most qualified, and you still don't know enough. Like, when is enough?
Oh my God.
I love it. I love it when, they interviewed Oprah and I don't remember who it was, but they asked her if she ever considered running for president. And she said, I never considered running for president, but now I think about it. If he can be in office, I mean, well, dang, I could be president too.
Yeah.
But when we think about it, other folks, they don't even think like that. They just say, I want to do that. I can do it.
Yep.
But it's always us, the most qualified, the most hardworking, the most talented, the most passionate. No, I can't do that because I just don't know enough.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't have enough skills. I don't have the qualifications.
That's true. We've fallen for the brainwashing, you know, the old Jedi mind trick that we need to have, that we need all of these qualifications. You know, it's kind of like, and who defines what qualifications are, right?
Exactly.
The ball moves depending upon who's being judged, you know, in my experience. And so the reality is that for years we've heard all this, you know, disparaging of affirmative action, which I take no problem in saying that I'm affirmative action baby. And I don't have any problem saying that affirmative action was key, I believe, in making sure that I was recruited and accepted into my Ph.D. program, for example. Have no problem with that. And the reason why I have no problem with that is because I know good and damn well I belong there. I know that I was at least as smart and probably smarter than a lot of the white ones that were there, to be perfectly honest. And I also know that before affirmative action, there were tons of Black people that were brilliant and weren't given the opportunity, but were overly qualified to be in those spaces. And so I have no problem with that whatsoever. But we have sort of allowed some shame to be attached to the fact that there needed to be correction. You know, it's very interesting. Language is powerful. I spent some time in South Africa a few years back, and South Africa has something called affirmative action. Well, they have something that is like our affirmative action here, but they call it their corrective action. And that makes all the difference. It reminds people there's a reason for this program. Because of our oppressive past, we need to correct that. And so to me, that's what affirmative action really is all about, or was all about, even though it's been tattered and almost non-existent basically to this day. And so that is, I think, where a lot of this sort of belief that we have to be overqualified so that we're not sort of sullied with this thing that we're an affirmative action hire. Look, the reality is you have the most unqualified president and cabinet that we've ever had in the history of this country right now. And it's 99.9% white male. I don't want to hear anybody ever in the history of this world ever say a damn thing to me about qualifications when it comes to women and people of color ever again after this catastrophe. That's a reality.
I almost wish I wanted to be president. I don't. But I mean, I'm like, I really could be president.
Yes, you could.
I really could.
Yeah,
if he has served no purpose, it is that to let us all know that we are extremely overqualified for his job.
That's a good point.
Really?
Definitely.
Yep.
If nothing else he has done that for me. I'm like, thank you for letting me know how powerful I am.
I know. You know, I thought George Bush was going to be, you know, the poster child for mediocrity, but here we go. Yeah. We got somebody that's even outdone him. I mean, at this point, I'm almost like feeling like I miss George Bush. I'll take George Bush back at this
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you something. George Bush is over there celebrating, popping bottles. He is so happy right now. He's like, thank you. Yes, I am not going to go down in history as the worst president. He is so happy.
Yeah, you know he is. You know
you're right. You're right.
He probably over there tweeting that stuff. We don't even know. Like, it's not Trump. It's George Bush out there tweeting all that craziness.
You're right. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness, probably. Oh my goodness.
I didn't know about that, but you're exactly right. George Bush is the happiest of all because now he can definitely go down in history as not the worst president ever. He has been completely outdone in a matter of like a month. That's the most.
It didn't take long at all.
How fast it's going to go to hell. That's the most incredible thing.
and that's another lesson, like, you know, how much good or how much damage you can do in a very short amount of time.
Yep.
It doesn't take a long time at all.
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't. And especially, you know, but seriously, when you think about who's there, I mean, he literally has a white supremacist as his chief policy advisor, someone who has specifically said that his main goal is to dismantle government. And so that's exactly why you have all of these, really, seriously, I'm saying this in all seriousness, unqualified people as heads of all of these agencies. You have a DeVos who has no experience in public education whatsoever over the Department of Education. You have someone who has filed multiple lawsuits against the EPA as a private citizen, now as the head of the EPA. You have a delusional brain surgeon who absolutely knows nothing about housing and urban development over the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I mean, I could just go down.
Clearly, he don't know about slavery either.
Exactly. Exactly. He must. Maybe DeVos taught him what he knows about slavery.
Oh, probably.
But so you can go down the line. So they have literally put in place the most unqualified people in every agency, and I believe the hope is that it will implode those agencies. Because that's what they want. That is literally what they want. They want to destroy the federal government. That's my belief.
Wow.
And save it just for white men. That's their idea.
And the reality of that is that means that the onus again then is on us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we cannot count on government to save us.
No.
Government is what's holding us down and suppressing us at this point. So how can we stand in our own power, own our power, and do our own corrective actions?
Right. That's a great point. I wrote a piece for NBC Black called Massive Resistance, a Way Forward for Black America in the Age of Trump. And basically, there are three things that I suggested that we should do facing this reality. The first thing is we need to stop investing in institutions that don't invest in us. And so that means divesting out of sort of these major financial institutions that basically rocked our community in terms of the foreclosure crisis. We've lost over half of our wealth as a result of that. And a lot of that happened because some of these banks literally engaged in redlining techniques where I don't care how good your credit was, if you were in a Black neighborhood, you paid more for your mortgage than the white counterpart living in the suburbs. So they did all of these things to destroy our wealth. And so divest in those, invest in Black-owned banks, invest in our organizations that will fight for us. So our anchor organizations that we know are out there doing good work. I suggest people like the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. I work with them a lot. The Black Women's Roundtable. They do a lot of great work around the country. I suggest organizations like Collective PAC, which is a new political action committee that's been put together to support Black candidates and to train Black candidates all across the country. So find Black-focused organizations that you have confidence in and literally donate to them, support them so they can do the work that they need to do. I also suggest running for office. Quite frankly, and especially at the local and state level, okay? Especially at the local and state level. And I say that because we see that we find ourselves in a situation politically where we are often taken for granted by one party and completely ignored by the other party. And so what we have for years invested all of our hopes and dreams on the idea of voting. And voting definitely is important. Black women are the number one constituent when it comes to voting, showing up on election day, particularly during presidential elections. But my point here is that voting and hoping that people do the right thing once they're in office isn't a strategy. A better strategy is to get in office yourself and write your own laws. And that means I want more of us to run for office, particularly in our own communities where we have a numeric advantage. We should be taking over city councils, school boards, all of those institutions that make a difference in our communities and in our children's lives. And not have to worry about asking someone to do something for us and then having to wait for years before we can hold them accountable. Do it for ourselves. So I guess those are some of the main things I would suggest that we do. Invest in ourselves, invest in our institutions, invest in our banks, but also take control of our own political destinies and run for office.
Yeah, I love it. So take control and know your value.
Yes.
Definitely. That's the biggest piece. If you take nothing else from this, know that you need to take control and know your value. Everything that Avis just said was just right on point. And it talks basically to everything that we said from when the show got started, the very, right? It's about starting your own business and having the capability and the freedom to get out there and do what you want to do and reinvest back into your community. I know for myself as well. I went to my kids' school for Black History Month because they were showing Schindler's List in Black History Month. And I was like, Schindler's List? I said, what? He was like, Mom, I need you to sign this. I'm like, what? Like, did you talk about Black history? No, we just talked about Schindler's List. Okay, hold on. So I had to email the teacher, email the school district, email the principal. We don't have anything in our. Hold on. We don't have anything in our curriculum that talks about Black history, not in world history. And some of our other history stats we do, but not in world history. I said, really?
Did they even bother to try to find some?
So I said, you know what? No need. What day do you have available next week? I'll be there to teach a class. Exactly. Oh, you can? Oh, I sure can. So I had to go put together a whole presentation, but I had the ability to do that and the freedom to do so. Right. Because I am an entrepreneur. I have my own business. So I was like, okay, let me block out one day. I'm not taking clients that day. I'm going up to his school. And it's so crazy because what I did is I intertwined slavery with hip hop and, made it fun for them and age appropriate, of course. But I used a lot of Joy DeGruy's work, a lot of other brilliant authors and things from the internet. But I brought in that insight and I told them, like, you guys don't even understand the music that you're listening to has historical context. It started in slavery and it started because of messages. And they were just like, really? And it's even the white students.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So
what amazes me, and this is like when we were talking about Hidden Figures, what amazes me is how much of our own history we still don't even know.
No, yeah, exactly.
Good Lord.
I just read my book club. Just read the Book of Harlem by Bernice McFadden. And I've been to the Holocaust Museum. I did not know that there were Black people in the concentration camps. I said, hold on, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just
know that either.
I don't remember them talking about this. I've been to the Holocaust Museum. Nobody said that there were Black folks in the concentration camps. Yes, they were rounding up Blacks, gays. Anybody that did not fit into Hitler's agenda were rounded up and put in the concentration camps, not just Jews. Right. I think there were maybe 50-60% Jews and then 40% other.
Exactly.
Other.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's so much that we still have yet to uncover.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, because they keep it hidden, right? Talking about hidden figures. They definitely.
And
they keep it hidden.
It's powerful, when you think about they keep it hidden and they rewrite history, and history is rewritten and recontextualized. I mean, I was just having a conversation about this today with the same client because she came back from Africa, and we were talking about colonization and really what colonization really was. I mean, colonization, it's such a antiseptic term, right? It sounds so clean.
It's very deceptive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that really mean? It really means what happened was that people were murdered and slaughtered. It also means that resources from countries were stolen. I mean, So and land was claimed that did not belong to them, to the conquerors, right? History is also how alternative facts are presented. I mean, that's clearly an alternative history fact, right?
Yes.
So, it's important that we teach our children the reality of that. I find it appalling that, in a curriculum, you're not going to have people of African descent in world history where did algebra come from? Where did the first astronomers dawn from? I mean, people don't realize that Egyptians did not look like the Egyptians of today. Okay.
Yes.
If you go to a museum and you look at hieroglyphics and you look at the images that Egyptians of that era that created the pyramids that people to this day can't figure out how they did it.
How they did it, exactly.
They were of brown and dark skin, all right? So, I mean, when you think about really who were the original scholars on this planet, people from Greece came down to learn from the Egyptians, not the other way around. People from Rome came down to learn from the Egyptians, not the other way around. And so really, when you think about the sort of the beginning, the foundation of science on this planet, it came from Black people. And so the fact that, you know, you have, but in our nation here, you have a very sort of a conquered reality in terms of how history is presented. And it's presented from the perspective of the conqueror. You know, that's how you can have books, textbooks, and texts written that describe Africans who were enslaved as workers and not as people who were enslaved. And that's how you can have some idiot like Bill, you know, like Ben Carson, as we mentioned, up there conflating the slave experience with immigration as a way to sort of dilute and sort of minimize what I would call the biggest Holocaust that this world has experienced. Just plain numerically speaking, in terms of number, the millions and millions of people that were not only ripped away from their families and kidnapped and brutalized and dispersed haphazardly all across the Western Hemisphere, but also when you think about the millions that did not survive the damn trip.
Exactly.
Think about that.
Think about the millions still being affected today.
Today, thank you. The generational impact of it, and that's what we were talking about earlier.
We will never get over slavery. We won't.
We won't.
And it's okay.
It's really a real. And honestly, I don't want to bore you, but you know, this is something I talk about this in my book too. I mean, there is research that shows that trauma is passed down intergenerationally.
Epigenetics.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly it.
Yes.
And so when we are descendants of a traumatized people, and it predisposes us to literally post-traumatic stress syndrome. Literally. And you know, so we're dealing with all of this stuff as we navigate life. And I think there are so many ways that plays out. But I think, you know, just in terms of things that we should all do to move past it, I think one of the things that entrepreneurship is wonderful about is that it gives you this sense of self-efficacy, right? You have to have this sense of, I can do this.
Absolutely.
And this belief in yourself. And I really think having a love for yourself, having a belief in yourself, having confidence in your abilities to overcome is one of the biggest antidotes that you can have to all of the sort of stressors that we face in this country that's being exposed to racism, because it creates a situation where you are strong enough to know, well, basically when you're strong enough to be able to call BS and to say, I don't really give a damn what you think about me. I know I'm the bomb.com, right? You know, when you protect yourself with that, it's nothing that anyone else can say or do to you that can penetrate you in such a way to make you think less of yourself. And that, to me, is the most important charge that we need to have for ourselves each day, to build ourselves up so much that even when we go out into the society that might challenge us in any way, shape, or form that we may not be able to anticipate before we walk out that door, we have our personal armor on where we have already loved ourselves up, such that we're not going to allow anyone else to be able to penetrate through that and break us down any.
Wow.
Yes, because we create. Yeah, that's what we do.
The perfect note to end this, because we are so past time.
I know.
But this has been an amazing conversation, and I didn't want to end it, but we are way past time. So on that note, I think that is a powerful note to end on. Avis, where can they get the book, and how can our viewers contact you?
Hey guys, well, cool. Well, first of all, here's my book. And you can go to blackwomenlead.com, blackwomenlead.com, and you can not only click through there and it'll specifically take you over to the page on Amazon where you could buy the book. But if you go there and put in your email address, you'll also get a free companion journal that goes with the book that helps you to be able to sort of work through it and go through some exercises so that you can implement some of the information that you're receiving from the book. And then in addition to that, you can go to my specific website if you want more information about the work that I do. You can go to avisjones.deweever.com or exceptionalleadershipinstitute.com and give us a holla on that website. So thanks for having me on your show. I really enjoyed it, guys.
Awesome. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
no, thank you.
Definitely enjoyed having you. Our viewers have learned a lot. I'm over here trying to respond to the comments. They were just on fire over here, really enjoying the conversation. So thank you so much. We enjoyed having you. As always,
Yes,
you all can tune into Boot2Boom each week, Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're here to get your PayPal popping, your business booming, and your life and your relationships to explode. And remember, we want to see you at PNC, so join us. Email us at boot2boom@gmail.com to get your discounted tickets, and we'll see you in July. And we will see you back here next week with another phenomenal woman for International Women's History Month. Take care, guys. See you next time. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, ladies. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you.
I was like, I can't stop this conversation, but that's why you have your own. Because I was like, well, I guess we just keep going.
Yeah.